off the other day. I believe we left off at the journey from platform 9 3/4. And I'm going to go through some of this relatively quickly, and we're going to skip quite a bit too. But Harry meets the Weasleys at platform 9 3/4. Mrs. Weasley kind of helps him get through the hidden barrier. He gets on the train. Fred and George help him get his stuff on the train. And he ends up in a compartment with Ron. Picking up around pages 98 and 99. Harry and Ron are talking, and Ron's kind of, surprised that this is really Harry Potter. And he says, have you really got, and he points at Harry's forehead, and Harry shows him the scar. And he asks about who he lived with. Said, I heard you went to live with Muggles. Wants to know what they're like. And Harry says, they're horrible. Ron. When Harry says, wish I'd had 3 wizard brothers. Ron, 5. Okay? 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Well, what's Harry already been told by Ollivander? Ollivander said when he gave Harry his wand, we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. Okay, because his wand shares a core with the wand that gave him the scar and all that kind of stuff, and because he's already defeated Voldemort essentially once. So Harry's got a lot to live up to. Now Ron says he has a lot to live up to. 5 older brothers, and they're all impressive in one way or another. Okay. Bill and Charlie are out of school already. Charlie works as a dragon tamer, essentially, which is totally cool. Bill is a spell breaker for Gringotts. Percy is prefect, I believe, in this book. And pretty much that's it. Fred and George are wildly popular. Huge pranksters and jokesters. They're on the Quidditch team. They're just kind of, all around studs, as it were. Okay? And then Ron's last. He has one more family member, a little sister. Okay? So Ron's kind of feeling lost in the shuffle. He's just another Weasley. Okay? And he and Harry talk a little bit. And Harry mentions Voldemort's name on page 100. Ron is shocked. And Harry says, see, I don't even know. I'm not trying to be brave or anything. Harry says, bottom of page 100. Saying the name. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads to learn. I bet I'm the worst in the class. Ron, you won't be. There's lots of people who come from Muggle families. They learn quick enough. Who are they going to meet? They meet her on the train. Hermione. She's from a Muggle family. She turns out to be the smartest of their year. Okay? So, Harry buys a bunch of junk food because he's rich and he has all kinds of money in his bag, and gets introduced to Chocolate Frog cards, reads about Albus Dumbledore, the headmaster at the school that he's going to. All right, we're going to skip a bunch. Draco comes with Crabbe and Goyle, page 108. Comes in and says, is it true? They're saying all down the train that Harry Potter's in this compartment. So it's you, is it? And he looks right at Harry. Why doesn't he look at Ron? Well, he doesn't personally. He's never met Ron before. But he knows about the Weasleys and their appearance. They all have flaming red hair, for example, which Ron does. Okay? Harry says yes. And he looks at the 2 bookends on either side of Malfoy. Malfoy says, oh, this is Crabbe and this is Goyle. My name's Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. And Ron laughs. Notice, Draco says, no need to ask who you are. Well, that kind of implies, like the Weasleys are famous. My father told me all the Weasleys have red hair, freckles, and more children than they can afford. Okay? Now, what's this kid's name? Draco Malfoy. What's Draco mean? Dragon. It's Latin for dragon. Okay? Malfoy comes from French, mal, and we use this. It actually comes from Latin, like maladjusted, poorly adjusted. Malfoy, which means bad faith. Okay? And it's not bad faith as in, if you trust the Malfoys, you're going to be burned. It's the Malfoys have bad faith. That is, their faith isn't in the right thing. Okay? Because if you read all the novels, where do they put their faith? Who do they put their trust in? Voldemort. Okay? So, he turns to Harry, Malfoy does, and says, "You'll soon find out some wizarding families are much better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there." What's he offering Harry? Friendship? What else? What comes along, Draco is suggesting, with friendship with Draco Malfoy?
Benefits.
What kind of benefits? Friends with benefits? Hope not. Power, prestige, influence. Okay? You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. He holds his hand out. He's offering Harry kind of entrance into the right club. Harry, I think I can tell who the wrong sort are for myself. Thanks. Not extending his hand. Saying in no uncertain terms, you're the wrong sort. Malfoy doesn't go red, but he turns a bit of pink. I'd be careful if I were you, Potter. Unless you're a bit politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. Okay. What way did his parents go?
They were killed.
They were killed by Voldemort. They didn't know what was good for them either. What does Malfoy seem to be suggesting here?
Harry doesn't know.
Okay, what else? What's he seem to be suggesting about Harry's parents? Did they have a choice? I mean, that's what he's suggesting. They had a choice to be politer, that is, to go with the right sort, but they chose not to. They didn't know what was good for them either. Siding with Voldemort. You hang around with riffraff like the Weasleys and that Hagrid, and it'll rub off on you. Notice he's not saying that Harry and the Potters are riffraff. But he is saying that worthlessness can rub off. It can be caught like a bug. Harry and Ron stand up. Ron, say that again. That is, say that again, standing up to me, face to face. Oh, you're going to fight us now? Harry, unless you get out. Okay, describe Harry and Ron physically, and then describe Crabbe and Goyle physically.
Scrawny and the other two are big.
The other two are big and muscly. I mean, they're bouncers, essentially. Okay? Harry and Ron are scrawny. But we don't feel like leaving, do we, boys? We've eaten all our food, and you still seem to have some. Goyle reaches forward for some chocolate frogs. Ron jumps. Okay? Ron's not afraid to get in a fight. And then kind of all hell breaks loose as Scabbers gets involved. Hermione comes in. Okay? So that little part ends. And Ron, after Malfoy leaves, page 110, Ron asks Harry, "You've met Malfoy before?" Harry says in Diagon Alley. And then Ron, "I've heard of his family. They were some of the first to come back to our side after you-know-who disappeared." Okay. Notice how he puts that. They were some of the first to come back. Well, what does the come back mean?
They left to join Voldemort.
They had been followers of Voldemort. Okay. They said what? They'd been bewitched. So first to come back means, what did the Malfoy family do?
I like to switch up.
Okay. If they were first to come back to our side after Voldemort's demise, what did they become to Voldemort and his followers?
You stole your
Traitors.
Disloyal. Traitors. Ron. My dad doesn't believe it. He says Malfoy's father didn't need an excuse to go over to the dark side. Okay? So Hermione tells him, get your robes on, we're almost there. Hagrid takes him to the school, and we get the Sorting Hat. Okay? And the Sorting Hat sings a song. If you read all the books, you're going to hear the Sorting Hat sing, I think it is 3 songs. Here, book 4, book 5. I don't think it does in book 6. So page 117. The Sorting Hat is what they put on, and it tells the school where the student will go. Okay? So we see a bunch of students sorted, and then finally, the song first. You may not think I'm pretty, but don't judge on what you see. I'll eat myself if you can find a smarter hat than me. Notice one of the things just in the opening verse. Don't judge on what you see. Why? Appearances can be misleading, can't they? You see something on YouTube. You see somebody's cell phone video. Does that cell phone video explain everything of that situation? No. Because if I were to shoot a cell phone video of here right now, notice what the perspective is. It's only from right here. I wouldn't see what's going on from back there or from a different side. Okay? So I wouldn't have all of the story. So don't judge on what you see. So what do you then judge on? Experience? You can keep your bowlers black, your top hat sleek and tall, for I'm the Sorting Hat, Hogwarts Sorting Hat, and I can cap them all. There's nothing hidden in your head the Sorting Hat can't see. So try me on, and I will tell you where you ought to be. You might belong in Gryffindor, and then we get a discussion or a listing of the 4 houses and each of their favored traits or virtues. You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring, nerve, and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. So Gryffindors are brave, daring, they show nerve, and chivalry. Okay? You might belong in Hufflepuff, where they are just and loyal, they're true, and they're unafraid of toil, or they're hard workers. Okay? Ravenclaw, ready mind, we're told, wit, learning, 3 qualities there, will always find their kind. Or maybe you belong in Slytherin. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends. So, Slytherins, cunning and utilitarian. Whatever it takes to get what they want. Notice what that implies, by the way. They'll use any means to get or to achieve their ends. Doesn't matter who gets destroyed in the process. You know, it's climbing the corporate ladder by stabbing the back of the person in front of you. Okay? So put me on, don't be afraid, and don't get in a flap. You're in safe hands, though I have them, for I'm a thinking cap. So we see people get sorted. And then Harry comes up. Page 121. And he hears a voice. Difficult. Very difficult. Do we see with any of the others, the Sorting Hat goes on and there's a pause? No, it's like the Sorting Hat goes on and it immediately shouts out. Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff. Harry goes on and there's silence for everybody out there. But Harry hears the Sorting Hat thinking. Difficult, very difficult. Plenty of courage, I say. Not a bad mind either. Is that a ringing endorsement? I mean, does the Sorting Hat say, and a genius, wonderful? No, not a bad mind. It's like, C plus B student. Good, but not great. Talent? Oh my goodness, yes. What's the oh my goodness, yes mean? Okay, what's talent?
natural ability.
Raw, natural ability. Okay? What must happen to talent in order for it to be utilized? That is, Michael Jordan was born with talent. But what did he have to do? He had to practice. He had to practice. He couldn't just pick up a basketball on the very first time. Be Michael Jordan. Okay? He had to work at it. Maybe not as much as other people. Okay? So, talent is kind of like raw ore. And then what do you have to do? You have to purify and refine it. Make it useful. And a nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. Why does Harry have a thirst to prove himself?
Because people expect so much from him.
People expect a lot from him. Okay? What else? What has Ron essentially already told him? Or what did Hagrid tell him when he first met him? Yeah, you're famous, Harry. And he's like, for what? He doesn't remember anything he did. Okay. Nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. So where shall I put you? And Harry just sits there thinking, not Slytherin, not Slytherin. Why doesn't he want to be in Slytherin? What did Hagrid tell him? There wasn't a dark wizard that didn't come out of Slytherin. Not Slytherin, eh? You sure? Notice what the Sorting Hat says. You could be great. You could be great. It's all here in your head. That is, all the ingredients for greatness are in you. And Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. Think of this way. Imagine people who run for president putting on the Sorting Hat. What do they all want? Greatness. You don't get to be president without having greatness. How many of them, if they were given this choice, you don't have to answer this, how many of them would choose Slytherin? I mean, think about what it's saying. You could be number one. Okay? Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. No doubt about that. No? Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor. Why Gryffindor? Why not Ravenclaw? Because he's got not a bad mind. Ravenclaws are a bunch of geniuses, essentially. Okay? Why not Hufflepuff? Everybody thinks Hufflepuffs are the losers. Okay? By the time you get to the end of the 7th book, I think it's pretty clear that Rowling wants us to think of Hufflepuff as being actually the most honorable of all 4 of the houses at Hogwarts. So, Gryffindor. Why Gryffindor? Because what are we told? Plenty of courage, desire to prove himself or thirst to prove himself, etc. Not a bad mind. Those kind of fit. And we're going to see how well he is placed, okay, fairly quickly. So I'm going to skip the rest of the Sorting Hat chapter, and we'll go on to Potions Master. All right. And Harry meets Professor Snape. And Snape fires off 3 quick questions to him. And Harry feels like he's being picked on. He has no idea why Snape is doing this. Snape takes points away from him. And he goes down to talk to Hagrid, because Hagrid's invited him down. And he sees on page 141 that there was a break-in at Gringotts. The break-in occurred the very same day Harry was at Gringotts. Okay. And the break-in occurred in a vault that had been emptied the very same day Harry was at Gringotts. And Harry thinks, wait a second, Hagrid took the only thing out that was in that vault. That vault was empty other than the thing Hagrid removed. And so he starts to wonder, could it have been the same vault? Okay, so the little detective story begins there. And that's essentially what this is. It's a detective story. Harry has to figure out, essentially, who done it. Okay? And in case you're interested, J.K. Rowling has started writing a series of detective novels. She's writing them under a pseudonym named Robert Galbraith. And they're excellent. I mean, she is a top-notch detective fiction or kind of whodunit novelist. Really intricate, complex plot, great characterization, much, much better writer at that than she is in these stories. Okay, if we were to do all 7, I do this in my other classes, I point out, there's all kinds of errors, factual errors in the books. That is, where the books don't agree with each other. From book 1 through book 7. Okay? You don't see those kinds of factual errors in these other 3 novels that she's written so far. She's really honed her craft. Okay, let's go on. The Midnight Duel chapter comes next, where Harry learns how to fly. They go off with Madame Hooch, and they're standing over their brooms. She tells them what they're going to do, and Neville does it. Rises up in the air about 20 feet, falls off his broom, breaks his wrist. So Madame Hooch has to take him off to the hospital wing. And when she does, Malfoy sees the Remember-All, the little glass ball that Neville's grandmother sent him to help him remember something. And he sees it. Page 148. And picks it up. And Harry says, give that here, Malfoy. I think I'll leave it somewhere for Longbottom to find. How about up a tree? Harry yells, give it here. Malfoy gets on a broom and jumps up. Harry grabs a broom. Notice, he's never been on a broom before. All he's heard is what Madame Hooch says, that you take your position on the broom and essentially kind of go up. Hermione says, no, you'll get us all into trouble. Bottom of 148. Harry ignored her. Blood was pounding in his ears. He mounted the broom, kicked hard against the ground, and up he soared. Air rushed through his hair, and his robes whipped out. And what does he suddenly realize? Talent? Oh my goodness, yes. He's a natural at this. Flying is second nature to Harry. This was easy. This was wonderful. And he turns his broom, goes right after Malfoy, and says, give it here, I'll knock you off that broom. And Malfoy, we're told, looks worried. And Harry knew somehow what to do. He leans forward, and the broom shoots at Malfoy like a javelin, a spear. No Crabbe and Goyle up here to save your neck, Malfoy. In other words, it's just you and me. And Malfoy says, okay, catch it if you can. And he lobs the glass ball. Harry sees the ball go up, and he sees it start to fall, and he makes his dive. Okay? Catches it after a 50-foot fall, and is caught by McGonagall. And he thinks, I'm toast. I'm going to get expelled. But instead of being expelled, what happens? McGonagall tells Wood, the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, she's found him a new seeker. Okay? He'll be the youngest seeker of any house in over a century. Notice, he'll get to play on the Quidditch team as a freshman or as a first year, essentially, and he's going to get a broom, which first years aren't allowed. So what's McGonagall doing? She's bending a lot of rules here. Why does she do this? Because it's only right and natural that Harry Potter should get to, practice this skill that he has? No. She's interested in him being seeker for one reason. What is it? Gryffindor's been losing. She's tired of losing. Who have they been losing to? Slytherins, or Snape. She wants to rub Snape's face in it. Okay? In it, she tells him, page 152, your father would have been proud. He was an excellent Quidditch player himself. What else does Harry know about his parents? The little bit Hagrid told him. He knows nothing about them. So now he's just gotten a little bit of connection. This is the first real connection. Dad was a Quidditch player. I'm a Quidditch player. Okay? It's like the force is strong in your family, as it were. So, he runs into Malfoy. Malfoy challenges him to a wizard's duel. And Ned doesn't show up. Harry and Ron go out with Hermione. She tries to stop them. And they run into the three-headed dog. And just before they leave, Hermione points out that the three-headed dog is standing on a trap door. Okay. Chapter 10. Halloween. Harry gets his new broom. Notice how McGonagall sends him this broom, bottom of page 164. It's breakfast. So all the students are down in the Great Hall. And these owls come bringing this big, long, slender package to Harry at the Gryffindor table. And she says, don't open the parcel at the table. I don't want everybody knowing you've got a broomstick, or they'll all want one. Then why does she have it delivered to him at breakfast when everybody can see it? Why not have it delivered to his dormitory room? Okay. It's almost like she wants to pique everybody's attention. She wants everybody to see this big, long, slender package that gets delivered to him, and just wants them to wonder, what is that? Okay, and we find out it's the top of the line racing broom. Okay. So Harry thanks Malfoy for essentially making it possible for him to get the broom. Harry goes off, has a little practice with wood, and they have their charms practice. Dinner feast comes around, and we see Quirrell break into the Great Hall and said that there's a troll in the dungeons. Kind of Dumbledore clears the room, sends the students off to their respective dormitories, and Harry and Ron realize Hermione wasn't there. Why wasn't Hermione at the feast? They had left potions. They had left charms, and Ron about her. He says, well, she's got to realize why she doesn't have any friends. Because she proves Ron wrong. She tells Ron, when they're doing the Wingardium Leviosa, you're saying it all wrong. He's, oh, yeah. Well, then show me how it's done right. He doesn't think she can do it either. And she does Wingardium Leviosa and makes the little feather float. Flitwick gets all, happy, gives her points. Ron is not happy because he looks bad. And he makes the comment as they leave class about why she doesn't have any friends. And she bursts into tears and runs off. And she's not seen the rest of the day. Okay? So, as they're making their way back to the dormitory, page 175, and they put to get two and two together that Hermione's not there, they realize they locked the troll in the girls' bathroom, and they hear a scream. And they realize it must be Hermione, because all the other girls are on their way back up to the dormitory. So they go back in, they see the troll, and they defeat it. what does Ron use to defeat the troll? Wingardium Leviosa. McGonagall, Snape, and the others burst into the room. And what could happen at this point? It doesn't, but it could. Harry and Ron could be expelled. They were supposed to be in the dormitory. Who covers their backs? Who lies for them? To a teacher. Hermione. Hermione says, I went looking for the troll on my own. I thought I could deal with it because I have read about them. And McGonagall says, you're a foolish, silly little girl. Blah, 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 blah. But she does say, or does make a comment about Harry and Ron. Not many first years, page 178, not many first years could have taken on a full-grown mountain troll. You each win Gryffindor 5 points. Hermione lost Gryffindor 5 points, so they've replaced that 5 points and gotten 5 more. Okay. Next chapter, Quidditch. Harry runs in on Snape being bandaged up, realizes Snape tried to get past the three-headed dog and got bit. Okay. Harry has his first Quidditch match, and Hermione thinks Snape is trying to jinx Harry because his broom's jerking him already all over, and catches Snape on fire. And Harry wins the Quidditch match, okay, by essentially almost swallowing. That becomes very important for book 7, by the way, in case you haven't read it. Christmas comes. Everybody goes off for Christmas holidays, except for some students. Harry stays at school. Ron stays at school. They've discovered from Hagrid that whatever it is that is being protected at school has something to do with Nicholas Flamel. So they've been researching Nicholas Flamel. They've been going to the library and such, trying to figure things out. Hermione says she'll keep reading books, see if she can find anything. And Harry and Ron will look in the library while they can during the Christmas holidays. Christmas Day comes, and Harry gets presents, seemingly for the first time in his life. Okay? He wakes up, page 200. Harry, will you look at this? I've got presents. Ron, what did you expect? Turnips? Notice, for Ron, to receive presents on Christmas Day is not a surprise. Even though his family is poor, he still gets something. Harry apparently hasn't gotten anything. Harry picks up the top parcel. Wrapped in thick brown paper, scrawled across it to Harry from Hagrid, and it's a flute. Hand-carved flute. Have we seen anywhere in the previous 200 pages Harry show any interest at all in music? Or in playing music? No. Have we seen anywhere at all Hagrid show any interest in wood carving or woodworking or anything like that? No. Okay? This is just a plot device. She needs this, Rowling needs this, in order to complete something at the end of the novel. Okay? There's another parcel. We received your message and closed your Christmas present from Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia. The 50 pence piece. That's friendly, says Harry. Ron's fascinated by the 50 pence. Harry gives it to him. But there's more. Harry opens the next one, and Ron says, oh, that's from my mom. I told her you didn't expect any presents, and she'd made him a Weasley sweater. Harry tears it open, finds a thick hand-knitted sweater in emerald green and a large box of homemade fudge. Every year she makes us a sweater, Ron says. Every year she makes us a sweater. How many kids does she have? 7. Ron has 5 older brothers and a younger sister. Mrs. Weasley's pretty busy then if she's making 7 sweaters every year. Harry, that's nice. He also gets a box of candy from Hermione. And then there's one other parcel. Something fluid and silvery gray went slithering to the floor where it lay in gleaming folds. Ron, I've heard of those. If that's what I think it is, they're really rare and really valuable. What is it? Ron, it's an invisibility cloak. Try it on. Harry throws it over him and he says, look. And he looks down where the cloak is covering his legs and he can't see himself. He dashes to the mirror. His reflection looks back at him, but it's just his head because he's got the cloak wrapped around him. A note falls out. Your father left this in my possession before he died. It's time it was returned to you. Use it well. A very Merry Christmas to you. Okay? So, he learned from Hagrid his parents were great wizards, a great witch and wizard. They were killed by Lord Voldemort. He learns from McGonagall his father was a Quidditch player, and now Harry's a Quidditch player. Now he has something. This is the first thing he's ever received that ever belonged to his parents. Something that his parents touched. Okay? It's almost like a relic for him. And notice the last three words before the Very Merry Christmas. Use it well. What does that imply? Okay, it's an invisibility cloak, so it gives you what? It conceals you. It makes you invisible.
Don't be stupid with it.
Which means you can do what? Whatever you want. You put that on, nobody knows you're there. And they're in a great big 1,000-year-old castle with all kinds of rooms and all kinds of hallways Harry's never been to. And all kinds of rooms that he's not supposed to go into. But now he has the proverbial get out of jail card. And he can go wherever he wants. So they go down for Christmas dinner. And we're told, page 203, Harry had never in all his life had such a Christmas dinner. Doesn't mean he never had a Christmas dinner. He's just never had one like this. Notice, 100 fat roast turkeys. There aren't that many people staying. How many people would 100 turkeys serve? 400? At least? Okay. There's not that many students that stay at the school over the holidays. I mean, we're going to see Harry at Hogwarts over Christmas holidays, and there's usually not more than 12 or 15 people. So they kind of go a little bit overboard. Okay? Mountains of roast and boiled potatoes, platters of chipolatas, I have no idea what that is, and a whole bunch of other stuff. They have snowball fights, etc. Best Christmas day ever for Harry. He goes back up to his dormitory at night full of turkey and cake, and as you all know, you eat a whole bunch of turkey, and what happens? You get sleepy because of the tryptophan, the chemical in the turkey that makes you tired. Okay? And he's stuffed. He's eaten more than he's ever eaten in his life. And he sees the cloak. Use it well. And he's wide awake. He thinks he's going to go off to the restricted section of the library and see if he can find anything about Nicholas Flamel. So he goes off to the library. He starts pulling books out. One of them lets out a blood-curdling shriek. He puts it back and runs because he hears he hears Filch. And he runs into a classroom. Bottom of page 207. Sees this huge mirror in this empty classroom. Wood frame and carving and an inscription in it, but he can't read the inscription. The inscription reads, Erised stra eru oit ube calvru oit onwosi, which, if you rewrite it backwards to forwards, I show you not your face, but your heart's desire. Okay? Well, Harry doesn't know what that means. He steps in front of the mirror. 208. Claps his hands to his mouth to keep himself from screaming. Because he looks in the mirror, he sees something that makes him want to scream. So he turns around. Why? His heart was pounding far more furiously than when the book had screamed, for he had not seen only himself in the mirror, but a whole crowd of people standing right behind him. So he turns around, and there's nobody there. Room was empty. He turned slowly back to the mirror. There he was, reflected in it, white and scared looking, and there, reflected behind him, were at least 10 others. He looks over his shoulder. There's nobody there. Or were they all invisible too? That is, are they all wearing cloaks, invisibility cloaks? Was he, in fact, in a room full of invisible people, and the mirror's trick was that it reflected them, invisible or not? Rowling has Dumbledore say that the mirror merely shows you your heart's desire. But what if what Harry thinks here is actually true? What if the room is full of invisible people? Okay? Think of what she might be suggesting. Because who are the invisible people? Just random people? No, they're his family. He looks in the mirror again. A woman standing right behind his reflection is smiling at him and waving. I never put that part together before. Why is she waving? Say it louder.
She's saying hello.
To
him.
To comfort him.
Okay, so what does that tell us about the, I don't know how to put this, about the woman in the mirror?
She's not just an image.
She's
She
possibly
can
a
see
spirit.
She can see him. If these people simply exist in Harry's heart, if they're the desire of his heart, should she see him? That's be kind of weird. Okay? She sees him, she smiles, and she waves. He reaches out a hand, like, are you there somewhere? And felt the air behind him. If she was really there, he'd touch her. Their reflections were so close together. Notice what the narrator is suggesting about Harry's mentality. If she was really there, he'd touch her. What is meant by really?
Like,
Physically. If she were physically there, he would touch her. Are the only things that are real only things that we can touch? Only things that we can see, taste, hear, smell? In other words, are there invisible things that are real?
Air.
Air, but air is made up of molecules and atoms. Okay, it's not a vacuum. But even space in a vacuum is real. Okay? If she was really there, he'd touch her. Their reflections were so close together, but he felt only air. She and the others existed only in the mirror. See, I think that's where Harry jumps to a conclusion that's not based upon fact or logic. She was a very pretty woman. She had dark red hair, and her eyes, Harry realizes, her eyes are just like mine. Bright green, exactly the same shape. But then he noticed she's crying. So she's gone from smiling and waving to now crying. Smiling, but crying at the same time. So why is the woman in the mirror started crying?
Happy to see him.
Is it because she's happy to see him?
Or because he can't see her.
Because they're not actually together.
Yeah, I think you got it there. That this is their only way to kind of see each other. Remember that long passage in Phantastes where the guy Cosmos buys the mirror and looks in the mirror and he sees that woman and then he spends all kinds of time to make the room nice for the woman in the mirror and he finally shatters the mirror. Why? To free her from the spell. Okay? And then they meet. The woman in the mirror is real. He's not aware that she's real. He hopes that she's real. Okay? The tall, thin, black-haired man standing next to her does what? Puts his arm around her. Okay, what is she doing at the moment when he puts his arm around her?
Crying.
She's crying. So what is the tall, thin, black-haired man doing?
Comforting.
He's comforting her. So, put it this way. Imagine this is the mirror. In the world of the mirror, the tall, thin, black-haired man is aware of what? The woman beside him is crying. She needs consolation. When is that happening? Right now, present tense. As Harry is looking in the mirror. He wore glasses and his hair is very untidy. It stuck up at the back, just as Harry's did. Harry was so close to the mirror now that his nose was nearly touching that of his reflection. And rolling is playing here, I think, upon Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. The idea is, if he touches it, he'll pop through the mirror and be what? He'll be with those reflections. He'll be with those people he sees in the mirror. Mom? Dad? He's never seen pictures of them, bear in mind. They just look at him smiling. And slowly, Harry looked into the faces of the other people in the mirror and saw other pairs of green eyes like his, other noses like his, even a little old man who looked as though he had Harry's knobbly knees. Harry's looking at his family for the first time in his life. Now, Dumbledore says, the mirror reveals your heart's deepest desire. What is Harry's deepest desire, therefore?
Be with his family.
To be with his family?
To have a family.
To have a family? Is it to have a family? Any family?
His family.
His family. Only problem is,
They're all dead.
they're all dead. So is his deepest desire ultimately to die and be with them? How else are they going to be together? Are they going to come back to life? No. Into book 4, Dumbledore will tell Harry in Sirius Black, no spell can reawaken the dead. Okay? The Potters smile and wave at Harry. Notice, not just his mom now. The others are waving. And he stared hungrily back at them. Notice his hands now pressed flat against the mirror, like he's trying with all his might to get through. To do what? To connect. To contact them. How long he stood there, he didn't know. He had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. Why half joy?
He was happy to see them.
He can see his parents for the first time in his life that he remembers. Half sadness?
He can't be with
He
them.
can't get to them. How long he stood there he didn't know. The reflections did not fade, and he looked and looked until a distant noise brought him back to his senses. He couldn't stay here, so he says, I'll be back. I'll come back. Next night, he tells Ron. He and Ron go off together. Okay? They find the room, they go in, and Harry says, see? Ron, I can't see anything. Page 210. Look at them, there are loads of them. Harry standing in front of the mirror. Ron, I only see you. Well, look at it properly then. Go on, stand where I am. So Ron comes and stands in front of Harry. Ron, look at me. Can you see all your family standing around you? Harry thinks, maybe this is a mirror that shows you your family. No, I'm alone. In other words, just the opposite for Ron. But I'm different. I look older and I'm head boy. Harry, what? Why the what?
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Harry's thinking, you? Head boy? Don't think so. I am. And I'm wearing the badge like Bill used to, and I'm holding the house cup and the Quidditch cup. So the house cup, the house has won the cup championship for the year, and they've won the Quidditch cup. The two don't necessarily go hand in hand. And I'm Quidditch captain. He looks at Harry. Do you think this thing tells the future? Ron's thinking, please, God, let it be a prophecy. Harry, how can it? All my family are dead. Well, think about that statement for a moment. That shows us why Harry has not a bad mind, but not a great mind either. Because what ultimately will happen to Harry? He will die at some point. He's not immortal. Okay? And when he dies, he'll be with his family. If what? How do you know he'll be with his family? I don't care what your religious beliefs are, but if you're an atheist, do you really think he's going to be with his family? No. Why? Because there's nothing that happens. You die and that's it. Your body decomposes. What you think of as your soul isn't real. It's just, chemical electrical reactions going on in the brain. And once you die, you're dead, that stops. Consciousness, sentience, sense of self, out the window. Okay? Ron, you had it to yourself all last night. Give me a bit more time. Harry, you're only holding the Quidditch cup. What's interesting about that? I want to see my parents. Don't push me. And there's another noise. And so they leave. Okay? Harry goes back the next night against Ron's protests. Says, I don't think that's a good idea. You're going to get in trouble. So Harry goes back the next night, sits down in front of the mirror, and he hears a noise behind him. So back again, Harry. And there's Professor Dumbledore sitting on a desk, leaning up against the wall. I didn't see you, sir. Excuse me. Strange how nearsighted being invisible can make you. What does that mean? Strange how nearsighted, meaning what are you looking at? What's right in front of your face? Because if you're invisible, do you see this? No. So, you've discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised. I didn't know that's what it was called, but I expect you realized now what it does. What's Dumbledore doing? He's teaching. Okay, Harry, so you realize what this mirror does, right? Shows me my family. And it showed your friend Ron himself as head boy. Harry, how did you know? Well, that little noise they heard the day before, that was Dumbledore. I don't need a cloak to become invisible. So, I know about the cloak, by the way, Harry. What's that kind of tell him? Don't do things you shouldn't do. Now, can you think what the Mirror of Erised shows us all? Haven't a clue. So Dumbledore says, let me explain. The happiest man on earth would be able to use the Mirror of Erised like a normal mirror. That is, he'd look into it and see himself exactly as he is. Does that help? Not really. Not for Harry. It shows us what we want, whatever we want. Okay? The happiest man on earth would want what? Nothing. Because he'd be completely content. Okay? Dumbledore, yes and no. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desire of our hearts. You, who have never known your family, see them standing around you. Notice, Dumbledore is interpreting. Okay? He doesn't necessarily interpret all the time correctly. We're going to find in Book 7 and Book 6, he admits to making mistakes. He's not God. Okay? Ronald Weasley, who's always been overshadowed by his brothers, sees himself standing alone, the best of them all. This mirror will give us neither knowledge or truth. Men have wasted away before it, entranced by what they have seen, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible. Notice, not knowing. Dumbledore seems to be saying here, those people who have wasted away in front of it, they don't know with whether or not what they're seeing is real or whether or not it is possible. Dumbledore is not saying it's not real and not possible. So he says, the mirror will be moved to a new home tomorrow, Harry. If you should run across it, you'll now be prepared. What's he mean? Okay, you won't be entranced. That is, you won't get sucked into its allure. What else? You know what it does. You know how it works. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. What are the dreams that Dumbledore might be suggesting Harry is attempting to dwell on?
To be with his family.
To be with his family. Okay? So, they find out who Nicholas Flamel is. 219. Chocolate frog card. And Hermione does some more research, and they find out Dumbledore helped Nicholas Flamel make the Philosopher's Stone. Top of 220. So they figure the Philosopher's Stone is what must be hidden at the school. All right. I'm going to skip a bunch. We get the chapter of Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback, which they help Hagrid get rid of. In the evening, they help Hagrid get rid of Norbert. They make their way back down from the astronomy tower, but Harry forgets to put what over himself and Ron, the cloak. Okay, so they get caught by McGonagall and they get detention. So we have detention for Harry, Ron, Neville, and Malfoy. But detention is with Hagrid. And they're going to go off to the Forbidden Forest. Hagrid tells them, I'm skipping a bunch. Hagrid tells them, let's see here, page 250, that there's something killing unicorns in the forest. And he says, we're going to find it out. Okay? So he says, we're going to break up. Malfoy says, I want Fang. Big old boar. Hagrid says, that's fine. Not Ron, Hermione. Not Ron. He says, that's fine, but, he's a coward. So Hagrid divides them up, page 251. He says, me, Harry, and Hermione will go one way, Draco, Neville, and Fang will go the other. They don't get too far apart when Draco pulls a practical joke on Neville. Neville shoots up the red sparks. Hagrid comes back to them, and he divides them again. So that it's going to be Harry, Draco, and Fang go off, and Hermione, Neville, and Hagrid go off. Why does he divide them that way?
Because Harry can keep him in check.
Yeah, because he knows Harry's not afraid of Draco. Okay, so they run into some centaurs, page 253. I'm trying to skip a bunch to get through this. And Hagrid asks them if they've seen anything odd. He knows something's been damaged to a unicorn. And the centaurs just keep saying, Mars is bright tonight. And Hagrid's like, yeah, I was asking for something a little, closer to home. That's odd. Okay? But they don't point anything out. So, Harry, Malfoy, and Neville go off into the forest, and they see the gleaming stuff on the ground. Bottom of page 255. Okay? They make their way. They see splashes of blood on a tree, or on the roots of a tree. And they keep walking, and Harry puts his arm out and says, "Look," he said, holding out his arm to stop Malfoy. Okay. Why does Harry put his arm out to stop Malfoy?
So you're walking closer.
So what's Harry doing?
It's protecting.
He's protecting Malfoy. Okay? Remember, Gryffindors show daring, nerve, bravery, chivalry. What is chivalry? It's an old code of knighthood. Okay? Which is essentially to defend the defenseless. Okay? To help the oppressed, to visit the hungry, those in prison. I think that it's ultimately based on Christ's words in Matthew 25, where he talks about judgment. It says, "Inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these, you did it unto me." That is, inasmuch as you visited somebody in prison, you visited me. Inasmuch as you gave somebody a cup of cold water, you gave it to me. Inasmuch as you fed the hungry, you fed me. Inasmuch as you clothed the naked, you clothed me, etc. Okay? Harry stops Malfoy. Does he like Malfoy? No. He hates his guts. So why does he stop him? Why did he say, no, Malfoy, you go right on ahead? Because he doesn't want him to die. This is part of Harry's character as Rowling portrays it. He is a protector. He is a defender. He is as is going to be called in one of the books, a savior. Okay? Repeatedly. He sees the thing. Malfoy screams, runs, and a centaur comes and rescues Harry because his head just exploded in pain. Firenze. Bane comes. He and Firenze yell at each other. Bane finally leaves as Firenze carries Harry away. And Harry and Firenze talk. And Firenze says, "Do you know what unicorn blood's used for?" And Harry says, "No, we've never used unicorn blood. We only use that part that can grow back." And so he says, "You can use it to give yourself life, but kind of a half-life, a cursed life." And Harry's like, "Well, what would you do that for?" I mean, bottom of 258. If you're going to be cursed forever, death's better, isn't it? Notice what Harry is suggesting. Dying is to be preferred over some ways of living. Friends, it is. Unless all you need is something that will bring you back to full strength and power so that you can never die. Do you know what's up at the school at this very moment? Notice, not a very well-kept secret. I mean, the centaurs in the forest know where the Philosopher's Stone is. Harry, the stone, of course I do. Can you think of nobody who has waited for years to return to power? Jeopardy question, The music plays and Harry's like, Voldemort. Hagrid comes in. Okay. Harry goes back up to his room. And there's the invisibility cloak, which he left at the top of the astronomy tower. So he tells Ron and Hermione he's got to stop Snape because he still thinks it's Snape. They tell McGonagall that Snape's going to go after the stone. She's amazed that they know about the stone. Okay. He tries to tell Dumbledore. Dumbledore has left the school. McGonagall's even more angry. Page 270. Harry says, I'm going out of here tonight. I'm going to try to get to the stone first. Ron, you're mad. Hermione, you can't. You'll be expelled. Harry, so what? Don't you understand? If Snape gets hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Haven't you heard what it was like when he was trying to take over? There won't be any Hogwarts to get expelled from. He'll flatten it or turn it into a school for the dark arts. Losing points doesn't matter anymore, can't you see? You think he'll leave you and your families alone if Gryffindor wins the House Cup? If I get caught before I can get to the stone, well, I'll have to go back to the Dursleys and wait for Voldemort to find me there. Notice what Harry's suggesting. That he knows that Voldemort is looking for him. Nowhere in the novel up to this point has that been said or suggested. Nowhere has it been said that Voldemort is out for Harry personally. All we heard at the beginning was that he tried to make a clean sweep of killing the Potters. Okay? Because I'm never going over to the dark side. Who invited him to? Yeah, but he didn't go, Luke, join with me and together we'll rule the galaxy. Because that's kind of implied, or that's kind of what Harry's implying here, that Voldemort wants Harry to join him. We are going to hear that's exactly what Voldemort essentially offers him. So, they go through and there are a series of protections they have to get past. We're not going to go through all of them. Okay? But notice, if Harry didn't have Ron and Hermione, how far would he have gotten? He'd have gotten past Fluffy and then died. Because they fall through the trapdoor and they land on the devil's snare. And it's Hermione who gets them out of the devil's snare. Okay? It's Ron who gets them through the chess match. What does it take to play chess? What kind of brains? Specifically. Just logic and strategy. Okay? Ron is actually good at strategy. Logic, maybe not quite so much. Who gets them through? Who gets Harry through the potions? Which is entirely logic. Hermione. Okay? So he gets through, and we come to the man with two faces. There's the mirror, and it's Quirrell. Harry, you? Me? I thought Snape. Severus? Yes, Severus does seem the type. What does he mean by type? Describe Snape. Scary. He's a mean, rotten SOB. From the very opening of the book, do we ever see Snape do anything nice for anyone? No, except for students of his own house. Okay? He does seem the type, doesn't he? Like an overgrown bat. She creates this image of Snape as a bat that she uses repeatedly through the novels. Okay? And it's designed to cause her readers to think, maybe Snape's really a vampire. He's not. It's a red herring. It's a false trail. Because she wants everybody to think Snape is ultimately bad. So that when she pulls the switcheroo in book 7, we discover he's not. Okay? So he and Harry talk, and he tells Harry about Voldemort. Page 291. Harry says, wait, you mean Voldemort was there in the classroom with you when Harry heard Quirrell moaning and whining? Quirrell, he's with me wherever I go. I met him when I traveled around the world. A foolish young man I was then, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Why was he a foolish young man? Because he had ideas about good and evil. What does he mean? He believed in that dichotomy, good, evil. That some things are good, some things are evil. No. There is no good and evil. There is only power. And those too weak to seek it. That's the Nietzschean element. There is only power. and those too weak to seek it. Okay? So, Voldemort speaks from the back of Quirrell's head, tells Harry what to do, page 294. Better save your own life and join me, or you'll meet the same end as your parents. Okay? So Harry fights off Quirrell and passes out. He wakes up, 295, and sees gold glinting above him. Dumbledore's glasses. And Harry just launches right into the stone. And Dumbledore says, okay, I see you're not to be distracted. Page 297. First off, how long has Harry been in the hospital ward? 3 days. Okay? Notice the symbolism and the imagery. He goes down into the ground. He dies. He's in a hospital ward, unconscious, for 3 days. And then he wakes up again. Sounds kind of like the resurrection. Okay? So he's a kind of a Christ figure. He's not Christ. Okay? So, Harry says about the stone. Dumbledore says, not the stone, boy, you. The effort involved nearly killed you. He says, the stone's been destroyed. Harry, but your friend, Nicholas Flamel. Oh, you know about Nicholas. You did do the thing right, didn't you? Or properly. What does Dumbledore mean there? You did do the thing properly, didn't you? That first did, it implies that Dumbledore knew Harry was going to. And by saying you did it properly means you did your research. You didn't just kind of jump in without thinking about it. So, Harry says, but he and his wife will die now. I mean, if the stone is destroyed, they can't make any more of the elixir of life. Dumbledore. They have enough elixir to set their affairs in order, and then, yes, they will die. And then he gives Harry the money quote. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Notice, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. In other words, Dumbledore is saying death is not what? The thing I talked about earlier. The end. The dissolution of your atoms, your molecules, and your consciousness. Death is merely a door. It's a doorway into another kind of life. Okay? As much money, Dumbledore goes on. You know, the stone was really not such a wonderful thing. Why? As much money in life as you could want. I don't know about you, but as much money as you could want, I think most people in this room would go, sign me up. Okay? Dumbledore. The two things most human beings would choose above all. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are worst for them. Right? I mean, think about it. Most people, you're given a choice, plate of French fries, plate of broccoli. Yeah, it's going to be the French fries. You know? Glass of beer, glass of water. Okay? Most are going to say beer. Or wine or something else. I mean, the sugary stuff over the healthy stuff. So why are money and immortality the two worst things? Money, the greed. So if those are the two worst things, the opposite should be the two best things. Death and poverty? Well, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they what? Shall see God. And I think Rowling has that in mind. Okay? So they keep talking, and Harry wants to know about Voldemort. Why he wanted to kill me in the first place. And Dumbledore says, darn. First question you ask, I can't answer it. Not yet. You're not ready. All right? He does tell Harry that I gave you the invisibility cloak. Okay? And he also tells Harry that Snape had been trying to protect him all year long to kind of repay his father because his father saved his life, even though he hated Snape and Snape hated him. We'll stop there.